Hello and welcome to another knitting pod. I am Lena and I am so happy you're here with me today. It has been a really long week, y'all. I think it's a kind of a miracle that I'm getting to sit down with you guys for a bit and chit chat about knitting and life and all that good stuff. Before I forget, two things. Number one, I got a ring light for my videos, and you'd think that that would have been a very basic thing for me to procure before I started my podcast, but I did not. And I have always struggled with lighting. So I am hoping that it's brighter and more, just a little bit like you can see a little bit better. When I stand up, I'll be able to project better light, so I will not hesitate so much to do those stand-up videos. So if it looks a little bit different, that is why. Please be patient and nice. I will be trying to work out the kinks and find the best lighting for myself. So that is quick thing number one. Quick thing number two is, before I forget, because I know a lot of you will ask, I am wearing the outline tee by Jessie Maed Designs, and the shawl I have is Plumpy by Andrea Mowry. It is a shawl I made a long time ago with hedgehog fibers in various beautiful bright colors, and it just makes me so happy. Unfortunately, this shawl is a really strange shape. It's like a really long diamond, sort of. It's very long rather than deep. And I find it very difficult to wear it because it's a DK weight shawl. So it's thick. And so if you wrap it around in like a cool, stylish way, it's very thick. And if you try to wear it just draped over your shoulders the way I'm wearing it right now, it is very long because I am very short. So I don't love the color. I mean, that's exact opposite of what I meant to say. I do not love the shape, but I love the colors so much. And when I need a pick-me-up like I do today, I love to use this shawl because it's very cozy. Because it's superwash, it is not itchy. And the color just lifts my spirits. And it has been a challenging day or two. Real quick, I will tell you the colors. This is Park Life. And I believe I threw in some random skeins of Ching fiber also. This neon color is UFO. This is Piggy Bank, which I love so much. I can't remember if I striped them. I'm sorry, I made this so long ago. A lot of you have probably seen this. And then there's like brioche sections and then regular garter sections. It's such a fun knit. It's a very typical kind of Andrea Mowry formula of garter stitch interspersed with brioche, which I just love. For instance, the satellite shawl is similar, but it is a fingering weight. So anyway, if you like very oblong shapes, you might like this shawl. I love this shawl, but I don't love the shape of it. It's just very hard to wear. Again, I'm like 5'4" on a really good day with good posture. Let's see. Let's jump into one project that I'm working on that I haven't showed you guys in a long time. And then we will pivot to a couple of projects that I have on my radar for the new year. And then we will wrap up with life and all that. And that's it. The project I haven't shown you in a long time because it has been languishing for, I can't even remember before this last weekend, the last time I picked this up. That is the Kala Shawl by Moonstruck Knits, Natasha Hornby. And I've made a lot of progress here. You can see that the beginning is, I'm going to flip it upside down. The beginning starts with a little garter tab cast on, and then it goes into a big broken rib section. Then you get into the cable charts that form the actual calla lilies. I'm going to show you up close. I finally finished one of the repeats. I feel like to really see the beauty, it needs to be blocked, and I'm feeling like you don't see the true dimension and stuff in this on the screen, but this is the only mode we've got. It is so beautiful in person, you guys. This is a shawl that is literally looks like the flower it's trying to emulate. And I think that is so hard to do in knitting, especially in a flat piece. I know there are knitters and crocheters, designers that have created patterns for three-dimensional flowers, and they're so beautiful. I think Midori Hirose is coming out with some that I just think are absolutely beautiful, but this is really quite a feat of knitting engineering, if you ask me. It is made with cables and what else? Central double decreases and various other things. Do you see how it's actually dimensional? Like there is literally, I can stick my finger into this space. It really creates that like flower type feeling. I apologize. I'm going to turn this light down a little because it is extraordinarily bright and it's like searing my retina. So again, work in progress with the lighting. So yeah, the reason this languished was because it required a ton of focus. You guys, it is absolutely one of the few patterns that I would say an ambitious beginner should not undertake. It really is an intermediate to advanced pattern because you're reading a chart, you're having to read certain sections of the chart different going in one direction versus another direction. The chart has yarn overs and cables and stuff on both sides, right and wrong sides, so you don't get that purl side respite that some charts allow. For instance, the book club cardigan that I made last year by Sari Nordlund looks really complicated, but honestly, it's just this very repetitive thing. This took so much focus, and I keep finding even now I'll just take one reverse. I was about to rip it out last weekend. I just felt like I was kind of evaluating everything that I had on the needles. I hadn't touched this in a long time, and it just felt so overwhelming for my life right now. I have so much going on that knitting, it just didn't feel possible to dip back into this project, to look back at the chart, to reorient myself. And then I was talking to my daughter. It was like Saturday or Sunday, and she said, why don't you at least try to do it, to reorient yourself before you rip it out? And I thought that was so smart and wise for an 11-year-old, because if you're going to rip it out anyway, what's the harm in seeing if you can actually jump back in and find enjoyment in it? So I decided to do that. And you guys, within 5 minutes of looking at the pattern and just taking a beat to think and remember where I was struggling and what mistakes not to make again, I was able to restart and pick up right where I left off, despite the fact that it's literally been 6 to 8 weeks probably. So there's a lesson learned. If you started it, there was probably a reason. If you were enjoying it, there's no harm in just trying to see if you would like to do it again before you just rip the whole thing out. Because I did make the investment of buying all this yarn. This is Rowan felted tweed in the color Sulfur. It is so bright on the screen with the light shining. It's kind of cracking me up. It actually does go with this, but it has a much less, like, to me, these colors have a very superwash brightness to them. The reason I was drawn to Sulfur is because it is very bright, but in a very natural way. Like, this colorway and this yarn generally feels like something you would encounter in nature. Like if I were walking in the mountains, I might see flowers this color. I don't think I will see colors that, flower colors that match this UFO color. So I really thought that the rustic way this yarn presents fit this flower-based shawl really well. It's just a really lovely yarn. It's felted tweed, so it has those little tweedy bits that are blue, which just make it such an interesting yarn. It doesn't look very flat. And even just the way it is knitted, the way it knits up in broken, I feel like my brain is scrambled eggs right now. I'm so sorry. I'm having trouble getting the words from my brain out of my mouth. Is that broken ribbing? I want to say broken tweed. The way the felted tweed looks in the broken rib, it's just really nice. I really like it. I'm enjoying the break of doing this middle. I finished that first chart and then you get to do 4 rounds of the broken rib again. And I'm really enjoying that respite for my attention. There's just so many things to remember. And if you forget an increase, it's going to throw everything off. And I am a huge proponent of fudging mistakes. This is one of those patterns. It's very hard to fudge. It's very hard to sneak a stitch in and out and not lose the calla lily flowers. It's just really advanced. But even though I'm in a stage of life right now that feels a bit overwhelming and like I don't have a lot of bandwidth, I find that it's a really nice way to unwind, to work on this project, because it requires my focus. I cannot listen to a podcast. I can't talk to anyone. I need silence and peace to work on this in order to stay on track. And that is really meditative. It's sort of counterintuitive, but when I need to focus on something, it by definition blocks out the rest of the chaos in my mind, and it's feeling really restorative. On the other hand, there are moments where it's really frustrating because I find sometimes I don't know how this is possible, but these little stitch markers that I have separating the repeats, sometimes they just travel 1 stitch over, and I don't understand how that happens. But I will literally, let's just say this is 20 stitches. I will get to the end of a repeat and be like, I'm either 1 stitch short or 1 stitch too many. Then I will go and count these, and one of these stitch markers has shifted. Please tell me if this has happened to you. And if there is, like, I just thought they were literally locked in where they are, but they're not. It's bizarre. Anyway, this is a very complex project, but I'm really enjoying it. I'm so glad I didn't rip it out. The other thing I will say about this is it is a large shawl. The finished item is going to be very large, which I love. It's a very deep V shawl, the kind of shawl that I grab all the time. I am telling you guys, I realized today I wear my shawls 100 times more than I wear any of the sweaters or cardigans I wear, because let's be real, half the time I'm wearing a sweatshirt and leggings, and I can grab a shawl and it just is an added layer of coziness and an added happiness jolt for me wearing a hand knit. And when I think about wearing a sweater or a cardigan I've knit, I end up having to think too much about, like, okay, well, what do I need to wear under that? Or what do I need to wear like as leggings or jeans or whatever? And then I just give up and grab a sweatshirt and put it on because I do not have the bandwidth to dress myself. I'm like a toddler. I just want a uniform. And half the time it's literally the same sweatshirt that I have in 4 different colors. And I'm fine with that. I honestly love knitting shawls because I don't need to worry about gauge. I don't need to worry about fit. I just need to worry about knitting the pattern, and then I can grab my shawls as I want to. So that has been a real eye-opening thing for me this year, that I went through a stage where I had a ton of shawls and I wanted to knit a ton of garments, but I'm just finding that even the garments I love the most, I don't wear them as much as I wish I did. And I do have a lot of shawls, so I am in no rush to finish this. I honestly am going to take my time. I'm going to pick it up when I want to and put it down when I want to. Like sometimes I timed myself the other day, 1 row will take me 30 minutes. Whether that's because I just need to look at the pattern really, really carefully so I don't miss 1 stitch and I have to count every, stitch I need to make, or it's because I messed something up and I'm having to problem shoot. It's a slow process and I am okay with that. If this takes a year, it's fine. I don't need this off the needles anytime soon, but I do think it's a finished object I will love, and it's also a process I'm really loving. That's kind of one of my knitting goals of the year, is to slow down and stop working towards a finished object. I'm just really trying to be in the moment with my knitting and not be like, oh, I can't wait to wear this. Yes, I can't wait to wear this, but I just want to really focus on the process and less on the finished object. I am sort of second guessing my color choice, like a hair. Would it be more wearable if it was a taupe or a gray or a charcoal? Maybe. But I wear a lot of bright colors, especially because my go-to sweatshirts tend to be dark black or charcoal, that I do grab bright colors. So maybe I will. I don't know. I wanted a bright color in order for these calla lilies to really pop. I think when we make something that's textured and in one color, in a dark color, sometimes it can be hard to read the details. So I did want to pick a bright color for that reason. And I do think I'm hoping when I bring it back a little, you can actually appreciate the beauty of it. But yeah, I don't know. I am loving it. Do I think that was exactly the right color choice? I actually don't know. But I do love it, and I'm definitely not ripping it back. So that is the project that is my current project that is challenging. And when I don't want to challenge, I am doing my rain or shine blanket. I continue to just be completely in love with that, and it's the best. I highly recommend it. Let's shift gears to things that I want to knit this year. Now, one of the big things, and I feel like I say this every single year, one of my big things is that I want to knit things with the sweater quantities and shawl quantities of yarn I already have or am close to having. For instance, let's start with this. I bought these 2 yarns. I have a ton of this, like plenty to make a sweater. And I have 3 balls of this. This is, let's start here. This is Cascade 220 Sport. It is non-superwash. You guys know, if you know from my previous podcasts, I love Cascade's non-superwash yarns. I think they are incredible. Their color range, the quality of the fiber, and the fact that they are non-superwash, they're just a really budget-friendly yarn for when you need a lot of yarn. I made my book club cardigan in the Cascade 220, no, 120, I don't know, whatever. I think it's actually Cascade 220. This is Cascade 220 Sport. That is a DK weight. This is a sport weight. It's not exactly the same. It's a little bit different. It has like a very loose kind of spun, so you can even see the twist there is not super tight. I really like it, and I want to make something out of this. But I bought this for the tessellated pullover. When I made the swatch, I loved the swatch. I loved the way it looked, but I just felt like it was going to be a little bit fussy, and that was not what I was looking for. I didn't want to be juggling 3 strands of yarn, one of them being mohair. It just felt like a project that I was going to start and then regret and never finish. And then it's really hard to rip back color work and mosaic, and especially when there's mohair involved. Mohair is just very sticky, as you know, probably, and it doesn't want to let go of what it's attached to. And because this is non-superwash, it'll be even stickier. So this is one sweater quantity of yarn I want to use. I don't quite know what I'm going to do with this. The other one is this. This is Bad Egg. Holy cow, it's like glowing with this light. This is Bad Egg by Spin Cycle Yarn in the dyed in the wool. They call this sport weight, but I believe feels to me like a fingering weight. I have 3 balls of this. This is one of my absolute favorite colors. And I think one of my hesitations with using this in the tessellated, y'all, I'm getting so hot. This shawl is having to be dropped off. One of the hesitations I have is I want something that this is the star. I love this yarn. If I were yarn, I feel like I'd be this colorway because it has like all these like neutral taupey grays, but then it also has this extremely bright neon intense yellow. Like either you love this or you do not love this. And that's, I think that just wraps me up. Like either you really like me or you just find me to be far too much. And that is okay with me. I mean, you can't fight nature. It is what it is. I have 3 balls of this, and I think if I bought 2 or 3 more, I can make the outline raglan. And y'all, I really want to make the outline raglan. I have had this pattern in my library for almost 3 years, I think. It is by Jessie Maed Designs. And here's the deal. My vow to myself is to make garments by designers that I know I like to wear. Jessie Maed Designs is one of those designers. Her designs are very modern in that they're not like traditional colorwork yokes for the most part. They're just sweatshirt vibes. And my life is sweatshirt vibes. Like this garment is Jessie Maed Designs. It's very simple. It has like this cute eyelet detail. It has a V-neck. I love this piece. I wear it a lot. It's great for layering. The outline raglan, I feel like I would actually wear. Has a lot of positive ease. It has this cute drop stitch detail that keeps it interesting. This neckline, sometimes like she designed the very V-neck raglan and I love that sweater, but the V is so deep, it's like always falling off my shoulders. This has kind of an loose neckline that I feel like is very flattering and comfortable. All in all, I really want to knit this, and I am willing to spend another $70, which honestly, it pains me to say that's how much 2 balls of spin cycle costs. But I'm willing to jump and do that because I think the end result would be something I would love, that would be unique, that I would just treasure. And those are the kind of pieces I'm going for this year. Things that I will wear. You know what I mean? I need to like be making things that I will wear. I thought I grabbed the other 2 balls, but I didn't. Just because every ball of spin cycle is unique and it's always fun to see the variations. This one is a little less variegated because it's really just 2 colors. It's some of the spin cycle like Ghost Ranch or something has like a ton of extra color in it. This is just really 2 colors twisted together. So the outline raglan is like high on my list. I feel like the other thing I really like about it is it's a lightweight sweater and it has all those drop stitch details. So I could wear it in the summer and the winter. In the winter, I pop on a jacket. In the summer, it's got like built-in air conditioning and I really like that. The other yarn that I have had in my stash forever is this Noro. This is Noro Ichiwa in the colorway, it's not on here. It says color 9 and Matsumoto or something like that. Is this not the most gorgeous color you've ever seen? I am so obsessed with this. I love Noro. It gives spin cycle vibes, but much cheaper. This is 200 grams, 500 meters, and this was $50, but I got it like 20 or 30% off. So this was such a good deal, and I just love how it gives me Starry Night vibes, like Van Gogh, just really such an interesting color. I love the midnight blue with these mint and pink bits in there. It's just fantastic. I love it so much. And I've not figured out yet what I want to make with it, but I want to make something very basic. Like my favorite things, knitwear. I've never knit anything by her, but I love her stuff. It's really simple. It's that petite knit, cadre vibe of really basic, really simple, but just a staple that you will wear over and over. I like her stuff, and she names her sweaters like number 1, number 2, number 3. I don't remember the number. I'll try to pull it up and pop a picture in, but just picture your basic V-neck, nothing fancy, y'all, nothing fancy. I had contemplated at one point to hold a strand of some sort of mohair with this, but I actually made a swatch and the mohair was so swallowed up, like it didn't make any difference, that it wasn't worth it. If mohair isn't going to make it worth it to me, it's not worth the effort of holding that second strand and always having to make sure you caught it and like it didn't drop off somewhere and leave a little loop. I don't know if that happens to y'all, but it happens to me all the time when I knit with mohair. And if the mohair isn't going to stand out and make a difference, it's not worth my time. The other one sweater, oh, now I remember. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes. I have not had time to really think about the podcast today, so I was looking at my notes. What I did want to make with this was Sari Nordlund's Alvar sweater. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. This sweater is so gorgeous. I love it so much. My friend Jessica made a similar sweater, not this sweater. It's a sweater, the one she made was by Petite Knit. Stephen West also has a similar sweater. It's the basic gist is textured panels in a basic just crew neck sweater. Of all the three, I will pop a picture up on the screen of all three of them. I like hers the best. I think part of that is because she used a yarn that has some silk content and it gives us this really beautiful sheen. But also I just love the amount of relaxed ease in it. It just has the right amount of positive ease. I love Sari Nordlund. I think she is one of the most talented designers. She's an absolute favorite of mine. I think she has such a range. She does cables really well. She does color work really well. I'm not trying to be hateful. I'm just being honest. I think Petite Knit is a bit overrated. I think like 50 of her patterns look exactly the same. Please don't come for me. That is my opinion. You don't need to leave me a mean comment, please. That is my opinion. I think some of her stuff is great, but some of it, I'm just like, I don't really see the big deal. Sari Nordlund, she does some basics, but she also does what like her more difficult, like intricate pieces are so cool and unique. And I don't know, I just like her. She just seems like a lovely human. So I want to make the Alvar sweater out of this. And I know that some of the detail will be lost because it's a bit of a darker sweater, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. Like, I actually think it'd be really pretty. And I think this color is really pretty on me. I think like these earthy tones, I just really like them. Okay, so we talked about the outline raglan, the Alvar sweater. This next sweater I am so obsessed with. I saw this on Instagram at some point like in December, and I was just like, oh, must make this sweater. I don't even remember the designer. I will try to put it on the screen. I bought this yarn at the only Rhinebeck / Woolen Folk I ever have been to a couple years ago. It's this gorgeous, extraordinarily expensive, undyed blend of like wool and Angora, and it's fabulous. It is so gorgeous, and I'm being super precious about it because I don't know what to make with it. You know, when you have that yarn that you spent a lot of money on and you has like this specific beautiful memory and you just don't want to waste it on anything. I want to make sure it doesn't end up being a garment in the pile of garments that I don't really wear very much. So one train of thought is to make a shawl with it. Like for instance, the pressed flowers shawl. I know I'm really late to the game, but I've always loved the pressed flowers line of designs. Like there's a hat, there's a sweater, there's a cardigan. But I feel like a pressed flowers shawl would be so pretty. And then I know I would use it, and I would not only get to use this precious yarn, but I'd get to mix it in with some spin cycle. Now that I'm talking about this, I feel like that is what I should do because this is precious and spin cycle is precious, and that would be pretty cool. Also, my hesitancy in using this is that, look at it, it's so white, and I am not a tidy person. Like, I just feel like I'm gonna end up getting salsa on it. Let's be real. I'm like, if I'm gonna wear a cute sweater to dinner, I'm probably gonna spill something on it, and then I would be devastated if I had a really cute hand knit and I spilled something on it and there's a stain on it. Because you can't get super aggressive taking stains out of a hand knit sweater. So that has given me pause. Now, the other option is the sweater I was about to tell you about and got distracted. I forgot what it's called. I don't know. All it says in my notes is that striped sweater. This striped sweater is so unique, and I love it because I love the way the stripes don't line up. It's such a small but interesting detail that elevates it to something just totally quirky and different. And I also just love the infinite possibilities of color stories you could do with this. If you go into the Ravelry project pages of this sweater, you will see some of the most inspiring color choices that you will just be like, oh my God, I want to make every one of these color stories in this sweater. So I don't know what I'm going to do, whether I'll do this in that sweater or I'll make a pressed flowers shawl. But I also think like the mini skeins of linen quill would be a really good use. Like that, those would be great in this. I honestly do not know if it's a fingering weight sweater or a DK weight sweater, but since linen quill is fingering weight, you could just hold a single skein double and make it into a heavier weight. And I think it would be really, like you would have lots of color options. And now that they make those linen quill mini, like the smaller packs, not just the like enormous, whatever, 40 color pack, you could buy one of those packs and make one of these sweaters with it. You could also use up leftovers. Like there's a lot of ways to make this sweater and use what you have also. So this sweater I just love. I believe she might have used mohair held double. It has that like airy, light frothiness that is just so unique to mohair when it's held double. So yeah, this sweater is just, it has my heart. I feel like I see sweaters that are appealing to me all the time, but this one has stayed at the top of my list for a long time, which is saying something. And that is all the yarn I have. Another sweater that I really have wanted for a long time that I might take the plunge and knit is, what's that designer's name? Caitlin Hunter, Boylan Knitworks or something. The Neigh sweater, Neigh as in horses, Neigh. I just loved this sweater from the moment I saw it. I think it's so unique and I love the fit. I love the horses. I'm not a huge color work person, but I think I would make an exception for this because I love it so much. It is one of those pieces I really want and I hope I end up making. I feel like given my life right now, this might be ambitious, but I thought like making all these things this year, but I thought I want to share these things with you guys. Maybe one of them clicks so much with you that you put it on the, your list of things you want to knit for this year. So that is what I'm thinking. Again, my main overarching goal in life across all segments of my life right now is to slow down and be more mindful. And I know that sounds super trite and like something that a million people say in January, but I really feel it in my bones this year because I just started my master's program. I'm going to be honest, it is so much more work than I thought it was going to be. I was like, I've been through law school. I did really well in law school. I've passed the bar. I feel like I'm going to crush being, doing my master's program. Shouldn't be a problem. But you know what? I didn't quite factor in. I was in law school. My biggest responsibility were my 2 dogs. I did not have a boyfriend. Well, no, I did have a boyfriend, but all I had to watch out for was myself. If I wanted to eat Pop-Tarts for dinner, which I'm embarrassed to say I did quite often, then I ate Pop-Tarts for dinner. I had nothing to do but study. And now I thought, oh, I'm doing it part-time, easy breezy. How hard can this be? It is so much harder to do everything I was doing and then add this on top and do it well. And therefore, there is no more time that I can kind of just like go about doing what I was doing. I have to be a lot more mindful, because if I don't want to give up my podcast, and I don't want to give up exercise, and I don't want to give up all the time I spend with my kids and my husband and my dogs and all that stuff, something has to give. And I have just decided those things have to stay the same. My podcast brings me too much joy to give it up, but it is a commitment. I have to knit, plan, actually tape them, edit them, do all that stuff, and that takes a lot of time. So one big thing I am doing in order to facilitate my mind, like being more mindful about my life, was I completely deleted my Instagram accounts. So I had one that was personal that I hadn't checked in like 3 years. And then I had my YouTube podcast knitting account on Instagram, my another knitting pod. And I deleted it this week. I had been thinking about it a lot, and I listened to a podcast about mindfulness and social media, and it felt so right. I just completely deleted it because I just didn't feel like it was enriching my life in any way. I wasn't posting because posting on Instagram never felt authentic to me. All the content I was consuming, it wasn't enriching my life. I was consuming knitting content. I don't have time to have more projects I want to knit. I have more projects in my Ravelry queue than I will knit in this lifetime. I don't need more inspiration. I don't need more physical therapy inspiration. My body is somewhat broken, and I don't even consistently do the exercises that my actual physical therapist has told me I need to be doing. I don't need more dogstagram. I have 2 dogs. I don't need to, wish I could have a corgi. It was not giving me anything. I found myself picking my phone up anytime there was a blank moment, like if I was sitting at a stoplight, or I was just lying in bed bored before, like not bored, but just lying in bed before bed. I would grab it and scroll. All I would do is just scroll. Nothing was even interesting. I wouldn't even stop to look or read. I just scroll. And I realized what that was doing was preventing me from having any blank spaces in my mind. Like if I'm sitting, when I was 20, before all this, smartphones and Instagram and all that, if I was at a stoplight, I would just be sitting there at a stoplight thinking my thoughts. Now that just feels so foreign that it's a little bit terrifying. And honestly, when I have no stimulus, like if I'm just walking one of my dogs, without a podcast or a book or a person like my husband, those are the times an entire podcast idea will come into my head. Those are the times where I make parenting connections, or I make connections in things I've been working through in my own life. Those quiet moments, I have completely given them away, and I want to reclaim them. Now that I have a ton of schoolwork, I just feel like I need to be more mindful of what I'm allowing into my noise, because it becomes mental clutter, and the price is just really high. Once I became aware of how high the price was in my life, of losing those moments of quiet in order to think my own thoughts, I didn't even want to think about it. I just deleted it before I could think about it. So 2 things. I love getting direct messages from you guys when you write to me, because sometimes you don't want to leave me a certain message in YouTube because they're public comments. I totally get it. My hope is that this weekend I can sit down for 5 minutes and start a separate email account so you can email me directly and no one else sees it, and because I love my communication with you guys. That is not there yet, but it will be. So that is my plan. Number 2 thing I want to note is, please do not take my deleting Instagram as my judging you for enjoying Instagram. You do you, okay? Like drinking, we talked about this last week. I am not doing dry January. I'm doing dampuary. I'm trying to be more mindful of not having just like a glass of wine as like an automatic thing when I'm stressed on a Thursday night. I'm like trying to be very mindful. But if you are doing dry wearing, live long and prosper, I don't take that as a judgment of my choices. And I don't want you to take my deleting Instagram as a judgment if you're enjoying Instagram. If that's your platform that you really find connection and inspiration and joy and connection, great. I was finding none of that. Therefore, I am deleting that out of my life. That is absolutely not a judgment I am making for you. Also, I personally have found Mark Zuckerberg to have become a loathsome human being, and I just cannot stomach being on any platform of his. I know that doesn't make a difference, but it's just like something that I needed to do to feel in alignment with my own beliefs. So that is where I am. So if suddenly you're like, I want to message Lena on Instagram, and you're like, this account is gone, that is why I deleted that account. Okay, guys, that is all the content I have today. I could go on more, but I am very tired and I've had a very stressful few days. I get some of the sweetest comments from you guys sometimes of like, my podcast feels like a comforting, safe place that makes you feel stronger and comforted in your own life. And I just cannot tell you how much that means to me. But I also, like, it goes both ways. Like, coming here and spending this time with you guys comforts me. And I have something I'm not looking forward to having to do this evening. And I really did not want to tape. I wanted to mope and mull and stay in my own mind instead of tape. I knew it would be so much better for my mental health to come on here and share and just be with you guys for almost an hour. And so I want to tell you thank you for being there for me as a way to cope in a healthy way with the stressors of my life. So I really appreciate that. It was very fun to talk through these projects with you. I hope you found some inspiration for the knits you want to undertake this year. I am looking forward to a long weekend here in Boulder. It is supposed to be so atrociously cold this weekend. I cannot even tell you. It's like -8 or 10 and it's supposed to snow. It's going to be horrible. And we have plans with friends on Saturday night. And if it weren't these particular friends who I love so much and like we have such a hard time coordinating our schedules, I would not be leaving my house this weekend. But alas, if you want to see people, sometimes you have to get out of your pajamas and leave your house. So have a very wonderful weekend. I hope you get some knitting and some you time and enjoy it. If you're here, you have a long weekend and squeeze in some knitting. Okay, I'll see you guys next week. Bye.